Hello, my friends. Let me tell you a story. Today's story opens on a typical American suburban home. The husband has just returned home from his shift while the wife gets ready to go out on hers. The husband appears to work at some sort of a garage, while the wife apparently works at a diner. But before she leaves, we see her go into a room filled with children's toys and look at a picture of not only herself and her husband, but a child as well. She hugs a teddy bear. This may indicate that her child is either missing or dead. She goes about her daily routine, serving food at the diner while simultaneously taking some lip from a young cook who works there, who, to be quite honest, is a bit of a Lothario, who thinks that he knows everything there is to know and acts like it despite being only 17. She ignores him as usual and goes to serve coffee to a gentleman in a suit and a briefcase. He calls her by her last name, which does get her attention, and she asks if he is a friend of her husband, Phil. He says no, because he doesn't know her or her husband, but he knows their daughter. He introduces himself as Agent Graves and asks her to sit with him so that he can explain everything. She is naturally concerned and asks that if Tina is all right, but he says it's a little too late for that. She asks if she's in some kind of trouble and she can do anything, but Agent Graves says that's why he's here, because she can do something. Graves then goes into detail about what happened to Tina after she ran away from home. She spent most of her money on a bus ticket getting to someplace else. She was young, attractive, and scared, a perfect combination for those who know what they were looking for. The man called himself Panda. He promised to treat her right, and she needed to believe that, even though she probably was smart enough not to. After all, she didn't have any other options left. When he hit her, which was sadly quite often, he did it because he said that he loved her, and she needed to believe that too. When her reality was laying under strangers or bending into the lap of someone in a car in a back alley, she turned to an escape and found it in a needle. She hated herself and the fact that she was forced to do what she had to do, not to mention the fact that sharing needles leads to, a lot of things. One such night, she met Robert Corley and asked if he was looking for a good time. Unfortunately for Tina, she didn't realize that for Robert Corley, a good time consisted of, I'm not going into the details, but it was a form of mutilation. He landed back in an institution. She landed in intensive care. While in intensive care, the physician discovered that she was HIV positive, which really wasn't a surprise considering her lifestyle. She didn't, of course, have any insurance, and once Panda saw her mutilated face, he cut her loose. She spent the past year, eating out of dumpsters, sleeping in doorways. Her immune system was severely compromised, and she died last week in an all-night porno theater. Her mother, Lily, who was listening to all this and quietly breaking down with each passing mention of what had happened to her, reveals that today was her birthday. and that she would have been 16. For those of you who know what this series is about, you know what's coming next. Graves says that he can't give her daughter back, but instead can give her something else. In the briefcase that he was carrying with her, she will find irrefutable evidence that what he's telling her is true, and also a gun and 100 rounds of untraceable ammunition. And whatever that she chooses to do, she'll be acting above the law. No law enforcement agency can touch her. But she questions him. What is she supposed to do? Who is she supposed to shoot? The pimp? The psycho that hurt her baby? Who? And he replies with, I have a photograph that should answer all your questions. Maybe. She takes a look and is horrified. She goes home, contemplating what to do next. She even considers taking the gun to end her own life, but chooses not to. Instead, she pours a drink to steady her own nerves. She goes to talk to her husband, Phil, and tells him that she met a man tonight who gave her a picture of a stranger. She then empties the gun into Phil, revealing that the pictures that were in the attaching were of Phil, making it clear that the reason Tina ran away from home was because her father, her own father, abused her since she was 7 years old. The story ends with Graves walking by the Roach's household, hearing the sound of justice being served.